Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Navigating Life with Nykefah. And if you're new here, I'm your host, Nykefah. This week, we'll be talking about the realities of transition, specifically as it relates to going from single to married. And we'll be hearing from Mrs. Candicia Ashman. She's really a woman of many hats, but if you don't know her, she is the author of the book Matters of the Heart. She is the wife of Minister Danion Ashman, as well as the CEO of Christly Inspirations. And if you don't know what that is, it's really a hub of empowerment, inspiration, and walking in your purpose, right? It's everything kingdom. She's also the host of the online show Man Talk and Woman Talk. She's a speaker, a writer, a columnist for the US-based magazine, the Beyond Women magazine, as well as Page magazine here in Jamaica. And not only that, but Mrs. Ashman serves as a certified Christian coach, a kingdom creative, and a planning administrator. Listen, I told you she was a woman of many hats, and that means she's very busy, but I'm grateful to have her here. I'm grateful for her time. So, Mrs. Ashman, you can come on in and tell us, how are you? How are things going? How is married life going?
Yes. Hello and good day or good night or good evening or good morning, whatever time it is that you will be tuning into this program. All of it good. Amen. Thank you for having me. Firstly, thank you so much, Nykefah, for having me. It was funny, because when you said, that you were going to send me an email, I was saying, God, I hope it's not anything about marriage. And I'm being very, very honest with you. Because I said to God that I wasn't going to take on anything about marriage just yet. I'm being completely honest. So when I checked the email, I said, Jesus, let me read it with one eye open. When I looked down, I said, Jesus, it's about marriage, God. You see? So, but I knew that it's not my will. And I know that it's probably something that God feels that I have, that I can talk about at this time. Yeah. But trust me, when I got the invite, man, I say, because sometimes when persons just get married, they kind of feel like, they know it all kind of thing. So I'm not that type of person. I'm not that type. I want to sit down and marinate and get seasoning and all of that. So I told God I said, God, me say 1 week after I get married, I don't want nobody call me about marriage, nothing. I don't want anybody ask me any marital advice. I'm going to, no, it's true. I said, God, I'm going to sit down, learn, be seasoned before I say anything about the matter. So that was the approach that I had. So I was very fearful to really talk about it. But I was grateful for the invite, and I felt that confirmation that I should be on. So let us see. Let us see if somebody can benefit from my little knowledge I have.
I'm sure somebody will. I'm sure. But before we get into the meat of the matter, just tell us, even before marriage, how long were you courting exactly?
Well, interesting story. Before marriage, we were courting for not that long, a little bit under a year. So it actually was not that long.
Oh,
but we have known each other. We have known each other as friends for almost 8 years. So we actually knew each other. We were very close friends, but we were not courting. And I'm sure you will hear more about that a little bit later on. But yes, we did not court long at all. And yeah, it wasn't long.
Wow. That's actually, everybody has different stories and everybody has different processes and transitions. But that's actually very interesting to hear, Usually nowadays, a lot of persons, they want to emphasize on years of courting, but but I do like the fact that you guys were friends like long before and then the courtship happened. I think that's actually very beautiful. That was very, very beautiful. However, as it related to transition, what exactly was your period of transition like as God was preparing you for marriage? Whether it was in the friendship or during the courtship, what exactly was transition like for you with God?
Well, firstly, I growing up, I didn't really have, let me not an intention to marry, but growing up, I was skeptical of relationships. I would say that marriage wasn't even there yet, but relationships, because I did not see any good examples, growing up with man and woman and relationships and all of that. Even in my own household, I didn't see any good examples of relationships or any good representation of what a man should be or what the head of a household should be.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of abuse, growing up as it relates to relationships. So,
Yeah.
as a little child, I was like, well, if this is what relationship is, it don't make no
It don't make
sense.
sense. Yeah.
Growing up, I saw a lot of, it don't make no sense. I saw a lot of young women, and they were paired with some old crusty man, if I if I can say that, because of it's true, because where I grew up, it's considered the ghetto. So you always see some young men with some old crusty, I don't even know, men, because it was a way to get by, because these
Yeah.
were men who give the money and they give the quote unquote security. But then these are men who were abusive and all of these things.
Yeah.
So seeing that representation, my mind was not there. I didn't even have a boyfriend growing up in my teenage years
Really?
because I was so traumatized. Yes, believe it or not, because I was so traumatized by what I was seeing. I'm telling you, you're laughing. I'm telling you, so traumatized by what I was seeing in my own house. Listen, it was traumatic. I remember one time, and I was sharing this on a recent program that I was at. I remember one time I was in the room, and one of my mother's recent boyfriends, they were fighting, and he came and broke the door. And when I say broke the door, no,
Wow.
it wasn't any little door. I mean, the good doors, that you buy. Broke the door and come in, and then broke her nose, her jaw, her
Wow.
eyes,
Oh my
everything.
gosh.
And then somebody was in the household, a family member, like she was, talking tough one of the other times. And he hit her right in front of my mother. She could do anything about it.
Wow.
So I don't know. I grew up with some really traumatizing experiences, and then they would apologize, and then they would be back together. So in my mind, I'm like, so this is what relationship is. I don't want. Yes, I don't want them kind of relationship. And it wasn't my household; it was all the households around me. So it was something that was normal.
Wow.
So toxic and normal, so to me, I didn't really know what a relationship was, and then representation that I saw just turned me off. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine by
Yeah.
choice, but I would say I'm fine by choice, but then I'm saying, well, if this is the inevitable, I guess I just be some man baby mother then, and then be some man's beating stick. This is,
Wow.
so growing up, that aspect of it, trust me, it was very traumatizing. As it relates to later on now transitioning, as I said, I really went into that mindset, but you get saved now, and you're a young lady in the church, and persons will say, oh, you should get married, and the pressure will be on it. Young lady, you finish college and whatever, you're very active in the church. Yes, man. And people start to pinpoint and say that person you're going to marry, or
Yep.
that person you're going to marry, and all of these things. So I said, all right, well, I guess my mindset will have to change. I guess I guess this marriage thing is something that I will have to do as a believer. And for a little while, as God worked on my heart, it was something that I later on desired, but I still didn't
Wow.
understand
Mm-hmm.
what it meant, because still, that those traumatic experiences were still
Yeah.
at the back of my mind. Like,
Yeah.
well, I never really saw marriage. I've seen
You said
man
day. You
and
say
woman
marriage. Just
living
when people
together or
day.
whatever. Say marriage, you say day, it's when man and woman day, they say married. So so it yeah. But later on, I said, okay, this is something I desire. I guess it's something that I should desire. It's something that God wants to see, apparently, based on all that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And based on all the encouragement that I'm getting. And I began to prepare myself. I thought, prepare myself for courted not a lot of persons at all, because as my friend said, I was very picky man, because I don't know, God gave me a gift. I could see somebody, but I can see somebody. I can see
Yes.
how you
Yes.
are internally. Is that sometimes I say it's a gift and it's not a gift. But somebody that would look good on the outside to somebody else, I could see
Yes.
past that in all
Mm-hmm.
aspects of life. But so the courting aspect of it for me wasn't, what should I say? It wasn't a tedious one. Like person said, they're courting for years and they've been in numerous relationships, and I wasn't in numerous relationships. I can count on my one hand and leave fingers how many relationships I was in, really. Seriously, because at one point in the process, I said, well, I'm going to be all, and I'm going to dedicate myself to ministry, and I'm going to have any husband. So at one point, that is where I was at. I said, well, Paul life not so bad. Yeah, man, Paul life not so bad, man. I can do this. Just ministry and God. And I was quite contented with it, trust me. I was happy, fine with it.
No stress at
But of
all.
course, there will always be longing for something. Yeah. There would always be that longing for something, because God created us to have companionship.
Yeah.
God himself said it's not good for man to be alone. He saw that it
But can
wasn't
you
good
want
for
it to
man
be
to be
alone?
alone. So we will always, but I wanted it. So we will always have that desire as human beings for connections and for companionships. So even when we say we are islands and we're quote unquote independent and all of that, we are lying to ourselves essentially, because God made it that innate thing that longs for connection and companionship. But in the transition process, we were friends for a long time, years actually, friends for years, and then we became closer friends in the span of about 3 or so years. We became closer friends, and this person would not leave me alone. This person kept coming to me and telling me that I am his wife. And every time I run this person from me, I'm like, go back, go fast and pray, man, and go repent. Stop telling lie upon God. So I would say, stop telling lie upon God. God don't tell you nothing. And he operates in the prophetic, So he would use that and say, listen, God says whatever. Yeah, but say I prophesy something and not come to pass yet. God is going to back me.
Sure.
So and this was for years, for years. For years, when we got married, my bridesmaids were giving this speech, and they were saying the same thing. They say, for years this person coming after Candy telling the man about no, and running the man. But it was, yeah, it happened. It's true. For years. And he was a good person. He wasn't a bad person. He was just not my ideal type of person, you know? And plus I didn't want to mess up the friendship that we had either.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to take that step either. But it wasn't my idea. I told him, I said, they're not my person. I like older men. I like a certain other type of high person, but no. But I told him, he weighed me down. That's what I told him. I told him that he weighed me down. And eventually I said, okay, I'll give you a chance. Let me see if you're telling lie on God or not. As you on judgment day, if you are telling lie. And, we just took things slowly, built on our friendship, and see how we could transition from friendship to a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And I saw the same qualities that I saw in him as friends, but now I could see the potential as a partner,
Wow.
And yeah, so it was the same qualities that were always there, but we spoke about marriage and all of that, and we had a lot of things in common and expectations as it relates to marriage. Both of us said if we were to get married, we don't want a long engagement. We don't want so and so and so X amount of children, and spoke about our different love languages and history and things like that. At that time, just to make sure
so
that
it was very intentional.
Yes, and there were things there that I was getting picky about again. And yes, man, there were things, and I said, I don't know. But at that time, he was very, very, very sure that was it. He was even surer than me. That was it.
Listen, when a man has a made up mind, trust me.
Listen, boy, could I tell him that nothing will go? So nope, the man was sure. And he made his intentions known that one day he would like to get married and that he would like to marry me one day. At that time as well, I said, I'm not sure. As I was still holding on, and I said, well, God, is it so? But I remember in particular, he told me a dream that he had. And he was saying in the dream, I saw us getting married. And me, just look with my side eye, and I said, sure. And then he began to describe what he saw, and the dress that he saw me with, the color scheme that he saw for the wedding, all of it. Listen to me. It was the same plans that I had for my wedding that I had years back. And I said, I want this color, I want purple, and I want gold for this and that. And I said, for reception, I want to change out in a dress. I don't want to wear the same things. He was telling me that he saw this and this color, he saw that, and he saw for the reception, I change out in this dress and so. I said, okay, you want got a whole conversation about me over there. But then we got engaged. And thankfully, it was the pandemic. And I said, thankfully, because yes, I am thankful. Thankfully, it was a pandemic. So it wasn't a big wedding because honestly, I did not want a big wedding. Yeah. I'm not the fairy tale and some, no, I'm simple. If it was up to me, it would be me and him and a pastor and two witnesses.
Listen, I tell myself that almost every day. So God, if it's just to stand up in front of the pastor, I'm good. Or the courthouse, I'm good.
Yes. Yes, man. I'm not into the flair. I'm just not that person naturally. I'm not into the flair and the hype and spend this whole heap of money and feed people today and 2 years down the line the same day, they're probably wishing that your marriage fall apart tomorrow. So
Yes.
I'm not into that. I was fine with it being small. So it was a small little gathering. Who was to be there was there. And that was that. We had some persons online that could not come because of the limitations.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a nice, simple ceremony and honeymoon time, and then packing up and moving in time and all of that.
Wow.
But the transition was a hectic one.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, planning of the wedding, after wedding, moving in with this person, you know. But listen, I say something, that there are certain aspects of marriage that persons who are not married will never know.
Yeah,
I
man,
tell
you'll never
you,
know until they get there. Yeah.
living with a person when they're married. Yeah, man, you're not going to know, because certain things that I was thinking about, and you have preconceived things. I say, okay, we're moving
Yes.
in, expect this and expect that. And you think, yeah, man, mentally, yeah, I'm prepared for this. Yes, until it happens. and, and you have to live with the person and coexist and build and plan and consult and all of these things. So I would tell somebody who is thinking it's great to prepare, but trust me, all that you thought it was, yes, no.
Yeah.
Just wait. But that is the transition story. Let me listen for any other questions.
But it still ties into that. Like, what were some of the lows that you experienced, and what were some of the highs that you experienced while in transition?
Some of the lows I would say is realizing that not everyone can transition with you. In this new chapter,
Wow.
I have to add the "that's okay" to it. So that was a low, but it was a needed lesson, because I really saw who were friends and who were not.
Yeah.
I saw who aligned to the next part of my life and who really did not. And it was a painful realization, but I know
Yes.
that it was necessary. Well,
Yes.
I'm seeing now that it was necessary. That was a low. And I would say that was really the only low. I don't think I experienced any other low. It was really just the people around me that had to leave or could not come or all of that. So that was a low. But the high points of it is really discovering, this new person that you are at this stage. So the person that I am now isn't necessarily the person that I was at that time, in terms of ways that I would perceive things or see things, and yeah, I'm grateful for that as well, because you can't be the same person at a different level. It's
Yeah.
not possible. You're going to miss a lot of things, and you won't be able to fully immerse yourself into what you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, that was a high and a low.
Okay, so this might tie into what you had already answered, but if you have any more insight, feel free to give it. So really and truly, everybody has their own experience of transition. However, oftentimes social media can really paint unrealistic things that should happen as you transition, or that these things must happen as you transition from singleness to marriage. But can you share with us some of the realities that you face while in transit, some of the real things, like nothing from a social media quote, nothing from the books, but some of the realities that you faced, whether it be internally or externally, as it relates to the place of transition?
All right, so some things that might be, well, first I have to say that sometimes social media is so unrealistic, and I'm sure we can agree on that.
Yes.
Especially as it relates to relationships. and expectations as well.
Yes.
I know, and I'm not bashing anybody who does it, but I know that when you're at certain periods, like you get engaged, you're supposed to post the engagement picture and all of that.
Mhm.
And you get married, you're supposed to post the marital pictures and all of that. I personally am a private person, so I didn't post any pictures until probably long after, and it was in my stories, not even on my page. I remember I posted a birthday picture of somebody, and I think somebody saw my ring and said, "What, you got married? Congrats!" And I said, "Oh, I didn't even notice." But it is expected. It is expected to share your life on social media, but
Yeah.
honestly, you don't have to share all of your life if you don't want to. Even the
There's no
major
rule that
parts.
says you must.
Yeah, there's no rule that says you have to post an engagement picture after you get engaged. No rule that says you have to post your married picture after you get married. It's your choice to do so. I am more private, but my husband is more public. He loves to share, and yeah, just out of excitement, because he's
Yeah.
excited, So just out of excitement. So if you want to see my married picture, you probably can go on his page. But but yeah, and it's not anything, he understands how I am. I said this just the other day on my WhatsApp, that those who have my WhatsApp number, you are privileged, because I would
Right?
share aspects of my life there. But yeah, I'm not too big in the whole, flaunting it thing on social media. But if persons want to do that, fine, awesome. But I don't want anybody to feel pressured like you have to,
Yeah.
But I don't know if these are things that are on social media, but I would say some realities of transition are, especially in marriage, is realizing how selfless you have to be in
Wow.
marriage. Realizing that it's no longer about you. And we say it, and it sounds like, yeah, of course, duh, it's no longer you
But
alone,
when push comes to
but
shove,
you
yeah.
don't realize it, right? You don't realize it until you are actually in it. How sometimes you have to bite your tongue for peace sake, that you don't have to win every battle. You don't have to want to win every battle,
Yeah.
you know, um, and just always considering the other person. When I was single and I'm up and down the place and I go to this event and that event all over, my friends invite me to events and I just go. You can't
Mhm.
come into marriage with that mindset either. You have you have another person that you have to consider now and be like, hey, I'm going wherever. What you think about this? And it's
Mhm.
not you telling the person that you're going either. It's a consultation, like,
Yeah.
So you have to consider these things. You're out, you call and check in and all of these things. And I think that's a reality. We have to be selfless. So if you're going into marriage just for the flaunting and the whatever, trust me, it is not about that. It's about real work, working on yourself still with your little things that you have to work on, and then working together with that partner to build a future together. So it's hard work. Um, I think that's something else that we don't see on social media. Sometimes we see the smiles and the cute pictures and we don't know that that couple is even arguing or fighting, or we don't put these realities on social media. Right, we don't put these realities on social media. I remember we posted a picture, I think on Facebook or something, and just the day before, we were arguing. Just the day before. So me looking at the picture now, and I said, look, no, you're so we
Yeah.
look sweet.
Mhm.
And look, we were arguing yesterday, and we got over it. If anybody looking at this picture now, they wouldn't even know that we just overcame that big
Exactly.
obstacle. You know what I mean? And that is what social media is. We see the pretty picture, but we don't see the work behind it.
So true.
with these couples. And I'm so grateful for podcasts and other things that talk about the real aspects of marriage that really show you that young people and old people or whoever gets married, it's hard work, and you have to be willing, you have to be persistent, you have to
Yes.
be consistent, all of it. It is work 24 hours all the time, having to be present and compassionate and listening and giving and taking and building, all
Man,
of it. So, yeah, I think we need to see more of that.
that is so, so true. And I'm grateful that you could have shared just the rawness of it, right? Beyond the pictures, beyond the social media posts, and the fact that it's real life. As I say, it's real life, it's real work. And it definitely takes two persons who are committed
Yes.
to making sure that this thing works out. And before we close, one last question, and you can just share whatever you want to share here, whatever insight, wisdom, or understanding that you have from your journey so far with those who are listening. So, what advice would you give to a woman or a young girl who is in their place of transitioning to marriage? What is your advice to them based on what you had encountered or what you saw?
Okay. Well, first let's say again, I am a newbie in marriage, but I hope my little wisdom helps. I have to say it, because trust me, yes. But I think something that I have personally realized and something that I have to encourage those persons probably just get married or you're planning to get married. My advice to you is to work on the kinks, I would say, in yourself. Do some self-work before you
Yeah.
enter marriage. Work on the issues, because the issues do not go away when you get married. It
Mm-hmm.
does not go away. It actually magnifies and then it affects another person, right?
Yeah.
So my advice is just to do some self-work, work on yourself. When Esther was getting married, she was purified, right? Before she, not married, but before she went on to see the king, she was prepared. She was purified for days. So it does take some work. You have to work on yourself. If it's that you have some healing to do, don't wait until you go into the marriage and then say, well, love will
Amen.
heal me, or the husband will fulfill this aspect of me that is hurting. He will fill that gap, or he will bring happiness. Darling, you have to have that happiness within you before you enter that covenant with that person. Um, so if it's healing, heal or start the process. Don't lean on marriage like it's a crutch to kind of bring you back up or to bring a certain kind of happiness that
Yeah.
you can't get externally. If you have issues, work on the issues, work on yourself. Hopefully your partner is working on his or herself as well. And when you come together, you continue to work on yourself and you continue to grow with each other. So I think that would be my advice, especially women who suffer from trauma, as I did, from seeing certain relationships and experiencing certain things as it relates to the opposite sex, whether you're a woman and you're traumatized by something connected to men or vice versa. I would advise you to get some counseling, probably get a Christian coach or life coach or something, and just work on those issues so it does not become an issue within your marriage.
Amen and amen. As I say, I know you don't like
Amen.
to just talk about these things or dive in because I mean, you just entered, but I think it will still enlighten somebody's understanding. It will still encourage somebody. Somebody will probably be in the same place that you once were and look to this podcast just for a little help. And so, guys, this is it for this podcast episode. And I thank you once again, Mrs. Ashman, for being here, for sharing with us, for just giving us your time. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Do not forget to like, to subscribe, and to share, and to encourage somebody else. So, thank you guys again for being here, and we will see you at the next episode.